So he's saying that the angelic messengers came and said, peace on earth, not peace in a world to come, not peace in the planets, but peace right here. And that's hard to believe. And it was hard for those first century believers. It was hard for those shepherds. They lived under a lot of terror from the Roman Empire and from the localized stooges of the Roman Empire, namely Herod. Now we read that Caesar Augustus decided that all the world, that is, all that he controlled, which he considered all the world should have their taxes raised. The tax lists have to be updated. And already these people were taxed to death. You think your tax rate is high? No. They were taxed into poverty. The local magistrate, King Herod, he was real hell-bent on just creating a legacy for himself. So he had these great, grandiose building programs going, and he had to tax the people and tax the people. In Rome, Caesar Augustus not only was building a great city, but he was also sending his armies out into all kinds of foreign wars to bring back booty and to bring back slaves. Again, more and more taxation. And at any given time, the Roman soldiers could come into town and do whatever they wanted to the local populace. And so when the angels say, peace on earth, that's pretty hard to understand. But what they probably did, they began to understand it the way the Romans understood it. You see, the Romans claimed that they had brought peace on earth. They said, Caesar Augustus, they called him the Son of God because he has brought peace on earth. And they called this the peace of Rome, Pax Romana, the peace of Rome. And what the peace of Rome was basically that their military was so mighty they could go in and just squash everybody. They could just destroy anybody who disagreed with them. They could enslave all these people. They said at one point in history, 1/3 of the residents of Rome were slaves. And they said, peace has come. I doubt if peace had come to the slaves. I doubt if peace had come to all the people who were homeless and made into refugees. I doubt if all the peace had come to those who had lost loved ones to violence. You see, that was peace, this peace through strength, this peace through power. And the whole Christmas story just challenges that at every point. The Prince of Peace, the one who would bring peace, did not come to bring peace with power, but he came to bring peace by setting aside his power. The New Testament would say, who was one with God and was God decided to become not like God, but to become like man. And it starts in this stable. This child, this king is born in a stable and laid in the feed trough for animals. The manger set aside his power. Not long after that, he and his parents became political refugees to Egypt because of the madman Herod who wanted to kill him. And you say, that's not how peace comes, running from a madman. That's not how peace comes, putting aside your power. That's not how peace comes. That's precisely how peace comes, that it even came to the cross. You see, when Jesus said peace on earth would come by setting aside our power and becoming like him, he was inviting us into something. He was calling us into something. He was calling us into the way of Jesus. And friends, we got to work on the long haul. You see, I firmly believe, you've heard me say this before, you'll probably hear me say it again. I firmly believe that we as peacemakers should be up to this task all the time. Every time you give $10 so a refugee can have a sweater, pants, and socks, you are bringing peace on earth. Every time you embrace someone who's lonely, that neighbor just down the street who will be with no one at Christmas time, and you go down and spend an hour over a coffee listening to their lives and wishing them a Merry Christmas, see, you're working for peace. Every time you reject vengeance and embrace forgiveness, you're working for peace in this world. Every time you refuse exclusivity and embrace inclusivity, you are proclaiming peace and living peace and making peace in our time. You see, we keep laying aside our power and laying aside our power, and God does amazing things on the long haul. We're here for the long haul. I don't think in the short run we're going to get the job done, even though Jesus calls us to the job. I don't think this weekend any of you are flying to the Middle East to complete the peace process over there, are you? They haven't called me. I have all these great opinions and solutions, and no one ever asks. I don't understand that. No, in the short run, there will be a false peace. Those people who think peace comes through power, those people like the Romans who said if we squash everybody and show enough power and enough threats, then peace on earth will come. That's not peace on earth. But Jesus says, I'm coming to bring real peace. Real peace. I won't see it all. You won't see it all in my generation, in our generation. But Christ calls us through our weakness to set aside our power and then to proclaim peace. It's the way he did it. It's the way he does it. And we have to be reminded every year at this time, or we will fall into believing the way the world and the culture believes, the way the Roman Empire believed, the way the empires of this world believe in peace. That last phrase of the passage I read for you is kind of an interesting phrase, glory to God in the heavens and on earth, peace. If you grew up reading the King James Version of the Bible, or if you just grew up having Christmas cards, you heard it said, peace on earth, goodwill toward men. I like that. I just think that sounds good. Peace and goodwill, man. I love that stuff. In some of the modern translations, it sounds a little different. In the NIV, it says, peace on earth to those on whom God gives his favor. And in the passage, the account we read today, this version says, peace among those whom he favors. Some people have kind of said, oh, well, that's the answer to why we don't see peace, because peace is only for some people, the ones that the Lord favors. Well, there's two problems with that interpretation. One is, earlier, the first thing the angel said is, I have good news for all people. And secondly, who does God favor? Everyone. We are all created in God's image. God doesn't favor you over you, or you over here, or this race over this race, or this class of people over this class of people. If we do that, we've fallen exactly into the false concept of peace. If peace is for some, if it's not for all, it's not peace at all. So it is the peace for everyone. And it's the peace that we are called to. When I graduated from seminary, I was a very idealistic person. I mean, I really was. I believed in peace on earth. I believed in justice. I believed in the poor being supplied with what they need. I believed in God's shalom in this world. I was a real idealistic person. And I think some of my elders thought, he'll get over it. He'll grow up. He'll get a mortgage. I'm 68 and a half years old, which is kind of funny because the half in there. When you're a little kid, how old are you? I'm 3.5, You get in your 30s and 40s, you don't say I'm 37 and a half. You get to be an old man, you put the half back in, right? Yeah, so I'm 68 and a half. I'm more idealistic now than I was then. I really am. I still believe in peace on earth. In fact, I believe in it more now than I did then. And you know why? Christmas. Because I've given my life to try to figure out what this coming meant, what the incarnation of the powerless person meant. And I'm trying to grow and grow and grow, and I keep seeing more and more and more as I age and as I experience life and as I experience violence and as I experience everything that doesn't look like peace, to believe in peace on earth and to believe that he invited me and asked me to be a part of it. And my greatest honor in life is to feel as though God has invited me to be part of the original plan of peace on earth. I love the Advent wreath. My wife and I have a little Advent wreath in our house every year. It's funny, this year, things have gotten so crazy, we've woken up on Monday morning saying, we didn't light the candles. So we've had Advent Mondays instead of Advent Sundays. But anyway, I love the meaning of hope, love, joy, and peace. But there's a candle in the center, and those of you who have used the Advent imagery down through the years, you know exactly what this is. The one in the center is called the Christ candle. And the Christ candle is there. It's usually lit on Christmas Day, but since we won't be together on Christmas Day, we're going to light it today. And the Christ candle is so vital for us to understand, because we kind of feel needy in different ways. Like, it'd be easy for us to come up to Christmas time and say, This year I really need more hope. I'm gonna ask for hope. Or this year I really need more joy. I'm gonna seek joy. As if these were individual things, that we could collect. Is there such thing as having hope without having some joy in that? Or is there such thing as having joy without having some peace in that? No, they're not different entities. They're all one. So what do we seek? Well, what we seek is Christ. The Christ candle, the Jesus candle is what we seek. Now, let me just pause for a moment and say this. I don't like the way Jesus' name is used many, many times in our culture. And I'm afraid when I talk about the Jesus is the answer, it'll sound so trivial because, some people they use Jesus like a magical incantation. All things are bad, but Jesus, now all things are good, Or some people use Jesus as a mascot for their political ideology. They just slap Jesus on the side of it. Or we're all in danger sometimes of taking a set of values or biases or prejudices we have, and because we believe in Jesus, slapping his name on our biases and basically creating him in our image. That's not what I'm talking about with the Jesus candle. I'm talking about confronting the fact that this one came to us who was so different in how he came, so different in what he valued, so different in what he even thought strength was or power was. And he calls us to that. You see, every year, this time of year, ought to challenge us. He called it later a new kingdom, a new empire that would come in our hearts. And it would be so different than the other ones. And he calls us today to live in that, to live in an empire, a kingdom that loves your enemies, that doesn't chase after ego or power, but keeps setting it aside in order to see what God can do through us. I think at this time of year, it just guts me every year. It just challenges me. It challenges the way I think about the world, view myself, view God, view everyone. And in that challenge, it begins to bring me every year a little more joy, a little more peace, a little more hope, a lot more love, because I realize that this thing of the incarnation of Jesus Christ, this thing of God becoming a man, is our all. Christianity isn't a set of rules. Christianity isn't a set of dogmas. It's that we believe God loved us so much that he came to us. And that's why this is such an important time of year. I would think it would be cool, just families, I would tell you, take some candle on Christmas morning, Christmas Day, or, maybe before you dive into the goodies or whatever. It doesn't have to be a white one or any color. It can be a Halloween candle you didn't throw away yet or whatever. I would just challenge you to maybe as a family take a moment, light a candle, and say, today, Christians all over the globe are lighting a candle saying, we want to see Jesus more clearly, and we want to see what Jesus wants to do in us and through us. I think that would make for a really good day and would enhance the lives of our families for the long, long haul.